Magandang umaga, Sir Ted. Kumusta po kayo?
Mabuti po. Salamat po sa panahon. Akin pong kasama ang aking partner dito na si DJ Chacha. Alright, Dr. Sevilla, do you see this coming? Kasi nagkaroon po ng June attack, di po ba, ano? Palitan ng bomba, Israel and US, dito po sa Iran. And then, ito nga po nangyari ulit. Do you see this coming?
Yes, nakikita po natin na ang 2025 12-day war between Israel and Iran last year, no, June, ay magko-continue dahil po ay hindi na satisfied yung both sides, no. But Iran was very very clear from the very beginning that it would not attack any countries or even US and Israel for as long as Iran will not be triggered by this preemption ang ginagawa ng Iran. So going back to your question, do I see it coming? Yes. And I think this conflict now will continue, and we don't know when it will end.
Opo. Di ho ba noong pong June na 12-day war ka ninyo, ang announcement doon ni Donald Trump kasi tukoy nila na gumagawa po ng bomba gamit ang uranium itong Iran at ayaw nila makipag-usap para nga po dito sa control sa paggawa nila ng mapaminsalang bomba. And that time, nag-anunsyo ang Amerika na obliterated yung pangapagawaan ng bomba ng Iran. Can you give us a little background dito po sa uranium program ng Iran? At totoo ho ba yun? Talagang gumagawa sila ng bomba? At totoo ba na nawasak po ng Israel tsaka ng Amerika ang paggawaan nila ng bomba?
Sa totoo po, when we speak of Iranian nuclear program, this is not something that happened during the Islamic Revolution, particularly in 1979 onward. This is the program that were actually initiated both by the Iranian monarchy or government of the Shah as well as the Eisenhower government of the United States. So in short, way back to the 1970s, nagsimula na po itong program na ito at nagpapatuloy hanggang nagkaroon ng gira in 1980 to 1988 between Iran and Iraq War. So na-stop po yan during the Islamic Revolution. And nagko-continue yung kanilang nuclear program. However, we need to be very clear that Iranian official statement never said that we are creating a bomb or a nuclear bomb. And there is no sufficient evidence that indeed Iran is producing a nuclear bomb. But it is also not. It is also true that Iran has the nuclear facilities, given also that Iran is a signatory of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Iran has the right to possess peaceful nuclear technology for its domestic consumption. So nagkaroon lang ng problema sapagkat ang pagkakaroon ng nuclear facilities ng Iran ay ginagamit palagi ng Estados Unidos bilang kadahilanan upang masabi na ang Iran ay isang threat doon sa interest ng United States, including Israel. And this has been used as a justification for Israel as well as the United States to basically do something against the Islamic Republic of Iran. The point here is that I think the government of the United States want to see a kind of government in Iran that is more or less friendly to the United States. If you look at the orientation of the Iranian foreign policy since 1979, we may know that Iran's orientation of foreign policy is very much focused on the global south, and it is anti-imperialist, and Iran always emphasized the freedom and the safety of the Palestinian people, and Iran is against the illegal annexation of the Israeli government to the territories of the Palestinians. So all of these are actually factors that need to be considered. Now, titingnan natin kung anong nangyari sa kasaysayan po, because this is not the first encounter in which the US and Iran had over the past decades. We go back to the 1951, for example, when the democratic elected leader of Iran, Prime Minister Mossadegh, moved to nationalize the Iranian Petroleum Company. At in 1953, nagkaroon po ng CIA and British intelligence coup d'etat against the Mossadegh government that resulted to the topple down of the Mossadegh government. So in short, yung move na yan was stopped. doon nagsimula ang kanilang problema sa politika, and then nire-install po nila ang king ng Iran. So may dalawang importanteng bagay na nangyari before the Islamic Revolution of 1979. This was the 1963 White Revolution of Iran, as well as the capitulation bill na nagsasabi na bigyan ng immunity, diplomatic immunity, ang mga Amerikanong serviceman and advisor na nagwo-work sa Iran. So ito ay nag-angered sa mga maraming traditional and conservative Iranians, including those who are in the religious sectors. Now, if I may go back to your question, unfortunately para sa akin, nagagamit palagi ang issue ng nuclear, no, upang maghimasok ang mga bansang ito sa loob ng Middle East. Remember, if we go back to the 2003, in the case of US against Iraq, the US also floated the idea that the Iraqi government under the Saddam Hussein's regime had this nuclear weapon, no? And the US wanted to promote democracy in that country. And it found out that there was no nuclear weapon in that country, and that until today, democracy has never been installed in Iraq. So I think I saw similar patterns, no, between what happened in 2003 in Iraq and what happened now in Iran.
Yung pong weapons of mass destruction na sinasabi doon po sa Iraq na hindi nga po napatunayan eventually. So, Professor, Doctor, magkaalyado noon ang Amerika at saka ang Iran, di po ba? Sa inyo pong sinalaysay sa atin na kasaysayan nito, di po ba? No? Nung una. And then eventually nga po, dito tayo nasadlak. Pero ito hong Israel tsaka Iran, dito ho, regardless kung meron man talagang totoong mga ginagawang nuclear arms ang Iran, hindi talaga ito magkakasundo itong dalawang bansang ito sa kasaysayan po nila?
Yes po. Well, in fact, during the time before the Islamic Revolution, the Shah's government or the monarchy in Iran was really a close ally of the United States in the Greater Middle East and North African region, as well as with Israel. Now, it is very important to note that in 1979, when the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran, one of the main issues that the Iranian Islamic government adopted and has been, maybe included in their agenda is basically not to recognize the state of Israel, because they believe that the state of Israel, in particular, what we call Zionist state, Zionist political party, is occupying illegally the land of the Palestinians. And another country that Iran did not pursue diplomatic relation was South Africa, because during the time South Africa was experiencing a kind of apartheid. So this kind of anti-imperialist and anti-discriminatory policy has been very clearly embedded in the Iranian foreign policy. So in short, from the very beginning, since 1979, hindi naniniwala ang Iran na ang Israel is legitimate, especially the operation of Israel in the occupied Palestine.
Okay, so kumbaga sorry po dito po sa away ng Iran at Israel, wala ho itong period. I mean, this will go on kasi nga po dito ho sa kanilang mga paniniwala sa ginagawa ng Israel. Basically po, kumbaga, Professor, to be straightforward, hindi talaga magkakasundo itong dalawang bansang ito.
But as I mentioned a while ago, there had been a very good relationship between Israel and Iran prior to the 1979 revolution.
Opo. Pero
yes, go ahead, sir.
Opo. Doon po sa usapin na ang Israel ay may duda na ang Iran ay tumutulong sa mga kalaban ng Israel, gaya po ng Hamas at Hezbollah.
That is talaga namang nakikita natin yung affiliation ng mga group na yan sa that they take some sort of parang alliance or some sort of loyalty or some sort of relations with the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Hezbollah and Hamas, and that's true. But we also have to understand that Israel may also, and even the United States, are also using other platforms, non-state platforms that basically would counter the perceived threat coming from the Islamic government of Iran. But we have to remember, in the past decades, Iran had never invaded any country in the region. It has never triggered its arms against or any other neighboring country. Contrary to as opposed to what Israel has done vis-a-vis Lebanon, vis-a-vis the Palestinian territories. So mahalaga po na unawaan natin ito, both sides of the coin, rather than just to look at it from one side, no? Kung what is the dominant narrative being offered by the dominant media outlets, no? So ganun po ang ano nila.
Opo. Professor, ito hong pagkamatay ni Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, ano po, sa sistema po ng gobyerno sa Iran, paano po ang succession dito? Considering nga po ngayon na mukhang wala pang nalalantad na bagong Supreme Leader na na-appoint nila. Can you just brief us, paano po ba ang sistema ng governance dyan?
Yeah, I read a lot of analysis coming from the Western outlets saying that there will be a power vacuum after the assassination of the Ayatollah Khomeini. But I go back to what is being mandated or written in the Iranian Islamic Constitution, specifically the Article 111, which says that once the leader will be will disappear or will die, there should be a kind of immediate activities to form an interim government, within that country. So what happened after the death of Imam Khomeini is that the assembly of experts, which is basically comprised of 88 members, and mostly Shiite clerics and scholars in Islam, are actually electing, to who would be the next supreme leader of Iran. And aside from that, another important note, that we need to understand is that there will be a kind of interim group in which the government of Iran will continue to operate both for its domestic and foreign relations in the absence of the supreme leader. So this comprise the president, the representative of the Guardian Council, as well as the head of the judiciary. So itong tatlong mga taong ito, mga personalities na ito, ay magtutulong-tulong upang gampanan ang ginagawa ng Supreme Leader hanggang sila ay makapagpili ng bagong Supreme Leader. So what I heard a few days ago, yesterday in particular, that they were able to already choose who would be the interim Supreme Leader, but this is an interim one, and meaning that they are still in the process of selecting the final person who would serve as the Supreme Leader of that country.
Gaano po ka-transparent ang mga decision making po sa kanila pong sistema ng governance dito, Professor? Meaning dito po sa usapin po ng gera ngayon, kasi may mga nananawagan na kung maaari tigil putukan muna, mag-usap ulit, no? May mga ganun pong usapin. Pero ngayon nga, ang sinasabi po, ang nilalabas sa media, na ang Iran ay hindi magpapatinag at magpapatuloy lang po sa paggamit ng kanilang resources para po bombahin yung mga sinasabing mga kaalyado ng Israel at maging mismo ang Israel.
Okay, one thing, first of all, is that before this war a few days ago erupted, the Iranian position was to diplomacy. Diplomacy was the best option, and they were actually negotiating. They were even willing to zero in their nuclear facilities within the country, and this was the negotiation between the U.S. and Iran being facilitated by the Foreign Minister of Oman. And so far, the Foreign Minister of Oman said that there has been kind of progress. But while they are in negotiation, this attack happened. The Trump administration, the Trump government, as well as the Netanyahu government, bomb or attack Iran, which lead to the damages of building, including 100 plus pupils in Minab city in the southern part of that country, the Hormuzgan province. So because of this, another thing is that before Iran reciprocated and before the attack, Iran was very clear that any attack against Iran will receive reciprocate action from the Islamic Republic of Iran. And this is indeed true, no? So for the Iranian government, they said that our target are actually U.S. interests in the Gulf, the GCC countries, the Gulf cooperation countries, as well as Israel. And they said that since that these GCC countries, these facilities are under the U.S. and it is covered by immunity, and therefore our attack is not towards the host country, but rather to the facilities of the U.S. In those areas. Okay, so now recently, I think yesterday, the Trump administration, if it is true, signaled that he is open again for negotiation with Iran. And I heard that the Iranian side, especially Ali Larijani, the head of the Security Council, I think, of Iran, stated that they don't want to have this negotiation happen because, first of all, from the Iranian side, question the credibility of the U.S. In terms of negotiation, no? Because in the past experience, the U.S. had never established that it is really clearly true of what it promised, no? That negotiation should be the toll. What happened is they were being attacked, no? At the height of progress sa negotiation between the U.S. and Iran. So I think Iran, I think if that is true, I think Iran will not negotiate by this time. But there should be some backdoor channeling, between Iran and Arab countries or Iran and other powers to convince both sides to sit down and pursue or continue this kind of negotiation. After all, no one would be the winner of this war. People will suffer. Innocent civilian will suffer from this war.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Prof, kasi ang source ho mostly natin ay Western media at sinasabi po nila na ipinapahayag nitong si Netanyahu at saka nitong si Trump nga na ito ang most appropriate time kaya nila ginawang pambobomba kasi daw naharap po sa embargo ang Iran, naharap po sa economic crisis, naharap po sa matinding problema po sa inflation and yung nga po, lumalakas po yung resistance dito po sa pamumuno ni Supreme Leader. Kaya sabi nila, appropriate time ito para sila ngayon ay bombahin nang sa ganon magkaroon na ng regime takeover. Ano po yung take doon?
That's true. I think this saw the weakest point in Iran, at least from the outside perspective. But I think they failed to understand the political culture within the country, the political culture and that spirit of resistance. The Iranians are so nationalist. Some Iranians may be against the Islamic regime because they have suffered a lot in terms of economic. But when their country are being attacked, these Iranians would really form together and resist any imperial or outside interference in their country. So this has been proven throughout the Iranian history. Now, with regards to the economic issues, I think we need to understand that Iran is a resource-rich country. It has 90 million people, and it's strategically conditioned between Europe, Asia, and Africa, meaning that Iran is very important to the mobility of trade and commerce as well as in terms of geopolitics, right? But the economic issues or the economic sufferings that the Iranian people is partly being contributed by the series of sanctions that the United States imposed on Iran since 1985, I think, no? 1980. Yeah, 1985. That was during the time of President Clinton when the U.S. Disallowed or discouraged the investment of American companies in Iran, particularly in the oil sector. And this kind of policy is also imposed on the third countries, the third parties, who are interested to invest more than $20 million within the year. So that smart sanction is really aimed at paralyzing the Islamic regime in Iran and decapitating this regime. That means regime change, right? But the sanction is not, the way I observe it, the sanction has not changed the political structure in that country. The sanction led to some sort of economic suffering of the ordinary Iranian people. We cannot say that perfectly the Islamic government is absolutely right, but I think the sanction, the economic problem and experiences that the many Iranian people has or have experienced these days is more or less a part of this, economic sanction imposed upon them.
Opo. Prof, may I ask you, ilang taong kayong tumira na natili po sa Iran?
Well, during my time, marami-rami rin kami. Some of us, a few of us were actually studying sa secular university. Others were actually in the religious.
So ilang
Ah.
taon po kayo? Ilang taon kayo practically po nagstay in
I stayed in Iran for 10 years, more or less.
Opo.
10 taon po.
and you studied their
Because I did
culture?
my-
Opo, their culture, their governance, ano po, etc. Ano ho ba ang sistema po sa Iran? Yung dissent ho ba doon talagang suppressed? Meaning ito hong mga sinasabi ngayon na nagpuprotesta at sabi nga po mag-regime change kayo dyan at kami itutulong sa inyo, sabi ho ng Amerika at ng Israel. Totoo ho ba doon na sino man po nag-o-opposition pinapatay?
I'm not sure about that. I think that has to be investigated well, and if there is some sort of violation from both sides, need to be condemned. And ako ang gusto kong mangyari is talagang safe yung mga citizen, no, mga non-combatants and civilians. The economic suffering would lead to some sort of another sort of suffering. But the recent protest in Iran, the way I observe it, as a result of this, suffering, there are claims, especially those overseas Iranians, that there is a kind of oppression inside the country. I was there last few months ago. I don't know how do you define oppression. That is subjective to me. But of course, the government of Iran is not perfect. There are issues that really need to be addressed seriously by the government to somewhat elevate the living condition of the Iranian people. So I also observed that many of the Iranians are bearing or carrying the flag of the monarchy of Shah Pahlavi flag. So I would suppose that these are monarchy. Okay, so but you look at the population inside the country. We're talking about millions of people. Like Iran has 90 million people, and the overseas Iranians maybe around kind of 3 million. Maybe I'm not sure about the data, but inside the country, you see how they really love the leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini. When Ayatollah Khomeini was assassinated, you can see that there is a big congregation in different parts of the country, they went together to mourn the passing of
Opo.
Imam Khomeini.
Opo.
So for me, it's very, very early to really say that there is that kind of activities. I think as a scholar and academician, it requires a lot of investigation.
Opo.
And if there is some sort of violation, then we have to condemn it,
Opo.
because even in the minorities, among the minorities, for example, the Iranian Islamic Constitution has recognized the rights of the minorities, for example, the Jewish Iranians. So they have representation in the parliament, the Assyrian, they have representation in the
Opo.
parliament
Sige.
as well as
Opo,
Christians.
Prof. Opo,
no?
Prof, if I
So-
may just interrupt. Prof, itong military might ng Iran, gaano ito kalakas at gaano sila katagal pwede pong makipaggera sa bansang ngayon, no? Well, yung ilang pong Middle Eastern countries po ay naghahanda na rin po ngayon against Israel and the US. Gaano ho ba kalakas ang tropa ng militar ho ng Iran sa usapin po ng kanila pong mga missile, kanila pong mga rockets, kanila pong eroplano, sa kanila pong mga ground troops, etc.
Well, kung napapansin nyo, yung reciprocation ng Iran against the US interests in the Greater Middle East, ginagamitan ito ng missile at saka drone. No, the point here is that if you ask me a question gaano kalakas, I don't know kung gaano kalakas, but one important point is that these are organically or domestically produced rather than kinukumpra nila sa ibang bansa. So, meaning to say that once they send drones and sisira ang drones or missile, posible na magre-replenish sila. No? So, if you ask me, ask me to quantify gaano kalakas, hindi ko po alam at hindi ko ma-quantify yan. No? But I
Okay.
think the Iranian official statement is very clear that they are confident that they can basically last this war for months, no? So medyo confident sila sa bagay na yan.
Okay. And ngayon po na pati po ang UAE ay nadamay na, Kuwait at maging ang Qatar, itong mga pangyayaring ito, ano po ang inaasahan na response dito nitong mga bansang ito? Dito po sa Middle East, no? Example, UAE, na ngayon po apektado ang kanila pong airport, no? Ang kanila pong ekonomiya dito po sa pangyayaring ito. Ano ho ang naiisip niyo magiging responde ho dito ng mga bansang ito?
Nagkaroon ng pagpupulong ang mga GCC countries, I think yesterday, at they condemned the attack of Iran over their territories, particularly the US assets and facilities. And we have yet to see what would be the response, no? Because sabi nila, if necessary, kailangan mag-reciprocate sa Iran. But I think there is this, I think the Qatari government is also convincing them that what would happen if we reciprocate in that way. So this gives a kind of avenue for, I think, diplomacy to really work, no, to discourage the continuation of this war, both sides, no, from the US, from Iran, as well as from Israel.
Ang sinasabi po ni Donald Trump sa kanya pinakahuling statement, baka umabot ng 4 weeks or more. Sa pangyayari pong ito ngayon, ano po sa inyong pagtansya dito pong sa responding nga ng tama ho ba yung ilang pong Middle Eastern countries dito na nasangkot na ngayon, hindi rin po ganoon po ka-trigger happy, if I may say so, na agad ding magpapakawala ng kanilang mga armas, no, sa Iran because of some implications po. Halimbawa nga yung mga casualties ng mga civilian, etc. Ano sa palagay po ninyo? Yung sa sinasabi po ni Donald Trump na baka daw po abutin to ng 4 na linggo.
I'm not so optimistic about the shortening of this conflict. I think this will last for a few weeks, and I agree. Given the scope of the operation now and the damages, I think tatagal-tagal kaunti itong conflict na ito. So importante na the global community would really help, no, in restoring peace as well as this country, no, these involved countries. So hindi ako sigurado kung I think negative ako, pessimistic ako na matapos itong conflict na ito sooner. I think it will last for a few weeks, if not months, or even years.
Even years? Sa
So even mag-stop sila sa gera, you know, there should be some sort of, you know, ang daming damages na nangyari na. So maybe the continuation would not be in the form of military confrontation, but maybe it's in terms of legal as well as diplomatic and political confrontation. I don't know what would happen. So we have to think about this.
Opo. Prof, yung pong dito po sa kanilang Assembly of Experts, no. Sorry po, with all due respect, meron ba mga maaring ituring na mga extremist dito na talagang hindi na magpapadala pa sa anumang pong diplomasya at magiging all-out war na talaga ito sa Middle East?
Hindi ko po kilala kung sino yung mga membro ng Assembly of Experts, and therefore I cannot give answer to your question.
All right. So dito po ngayon sa sitwasyon na ito na nga po, no, nangyari na ito at may mga bata pa na nadadamay, ano po ang inyong pagtansya? Magkakaroon ho ba ng spillover ito sa labas ng Middle East para po doon sa mga sympathetic sa cause ng Iran?
I hope not, pero nakikita natin yung nangyari sa Pakistan, no? When young Pakistanis attacked the American interest in the country, and it was reciprocated with, kind of, action from the Pakistani armed forces, no? Nangyari yan, I think, yesterday or the day before yesterday. So I hope it will not spread over, no? It will not, spread beyond uh, the Middle East, but we also are not sure whether or not this thing would happen. For example, in Africa, in other Muslim countries, no. So we have to be very careful and vigilant with regards to this one. But the point here is, I have not seen yet, aside from Pakistan and protests that we saw in Lebanon, in India, uh, those demonstrations and protests against the attack on Iran, there was no so far military violence or armed violence, if I may correct
Opo.
myself, in response to what is happening now. But we have to remember that Ayatollah Khomeini, from the perspective of Islam, is very important figure, not just for the Shi'i community, but also to other Muslim groups, no, around the globe. So his personality and his influence, not just within the Iranian territory, but it goes beyond the Iranian territory.
Opo.
So maybe we are still I think antabayan po natin kung ano ang mangyayari
Opo.
sa
Opo.
mga susunod na mga araw.
Sa pangyayaring ito, Professor, ang tanong nga ng marami, nasaan ang UN? Dito ho ba may magagawa ang UN?
Unfortunately, the UN is there, but it's more or less more on condemnation. We have to understand that UN has no police power, no, and the forces of UN is being contributed by the member states, and we know that the US is one of the greatest contributor doon sa UN. We see the violence against the Palestinian people in Gaza. UN has not been able really to exert influence to stop or de-escalate this conflict. So a lot of, for example, some Iranians, if not all of them, are so they do not believe on the UN anymore. But I think the UN as an important institution that promotes peace and diplomacy should be given a kind of privilege, no, to really work on the restoration of peace between and among countries.
Opo. Professor, sa dito nga po, no, sa nakita po natin ng mga imahe nito, including nga yung isang eskwelahan na binomba at marami hong mga kabataan ng mga estudyante ang namatay. Ngayon po, what can pacify the Iranian people and the Iranian government para ho magkaroon dito ng ceasefire, nang hindi rin po madamay ang marami po na mga bansang katabi po ng Iran sa gitnang silangan po at damay-damay na po ang lahat. Sa palagay po ninyo, ano po ang pwedeng makapagpahupa ngayon sa sitwasyon, sa damdamin po ng mga Iranian?
I think the factor is not just from the Iranian side, but it's also from the US and Israeli side.
Oo nga po.
So that means that
kailangan
they have really
Okay,
to
go ahead.
they have to demonstrate to the Iranian people that they are serious and they are really into peace, rather than so it requires a lot of time because they need to establish credibility for the for the Iranian people to the Iranian Islamic government to follow, and it is very also important that I think back to diplomacy should be given priority. I think even sa paniniwala ko, kahit nagigira na tayo, pag may usapan, nag-uusap tayo, may chance pa rin para sa peace, no? And that is the most possible way na gagawin ng bawat bansa na yan, including Iran. But for as long as sa tingin ko, for as long as the US does not show this kind of sincerity na talagang seryoso sa I think I'm speaking from the Iranian perspective. I think hindi sila magbabow down sa Amerika.
Okay.
So mahalaga na ang bawat parties ay magtutulungan, no, na talagang i-consider yung option na diplomacy, no, para i-restore itong peace, no, kapayapaan sa kanilang mga bansa.
Okay. Cha, may tanong ka ba? Okay. Ito, pahabol lang po kay Chacha, Professor.
Oo. Doctor, may chance po ba na umabot or maapektuhan ng gulo ang halimbawa Southeast Asia or yung iba pang mga allied countries ng Amerika? Posible po ba tayong madamay sa gulo? Dito sa Pilipinas, wala na ba mong base militar ang Amerika, pero pinag-uusapan ngayon ang napakadaming EDCA sites. Ano po nga reaksyon nyo dyan?
So far, sa tingin ko, safe naman ang Philippines. Wala namang akong nakikitang mga kumbaga mga activities that would really lead to this kind of assumption. I think, but we have to be vigilant, of course, and I understand that the Department of National Defense and the Armed Forces of the Philippines, as well as the police, are really working hard, to ensure that our protection and safety will be maintained, and I believe so. No, so sa Southeast Asia, I'm not sure. Maybe some groups may try to sympathize with what happened in Iran. But into what form and extent is also a question. Maybe they will just say it verbally or what. But if we expect some sort of violence and whatever, I am not sure if this will occur. No, somehow in the Philippines, I have not seen any activities, this kind of activities.
Oo. Doctor, kung sinasabi niyo po kanina na ang UN nga ay walang police power pero mahalaga yung kanilang ginagampanan as an institution to promote peace, meron po bang kasing lakas ng Amerika na bansa ang pwedeng pumagitna dito para kahit papano mapacify po itong tensyon sa pagitan ng Amerika, Israel at ng Iran?
Well, may mga malalakas na bansa kagaya ng China, no? But the question here is, will the United States agree that China will strike the facilitation? Although we heard reports that U.S. is asking the Chinese government to help, convince Iran, and as well as there is an ongoing talk, backdoor diplomacy that encourage other countries to talk to Iran. So I'm not sure kung may ibang pang bansa na pwedeng makipag-usap sa Iran, no? But I think if you ask about big powers, you have Russia and China. Probably they are influential. But it's the question really of how would they convince Iran and how Iran would take their offering, no? So ganun po ang mangyayari. But I think Iran is very much into diplomacy naman eh. In the past years kasi nakikita ko rin yung trend na kahit nalugmok na nagira sila, for example in the 1980 to 1988 Iraq imposed war on Iran, nakikita natin that the UN are still showing its relevance para magkaroon ng truce ng peace agreement between these two countries.
Alright,
Two
sige po.
countries.
Salamat po ng marami sa inyo pong panahon, Dr. Sevilla. Kami po'y natuto po ng lubos sa ating pong talakayan na ito, and isa po ang ating pong panalangin. Magkaroon po kahit papaano muna ng ceasefire dito at mag-usap-usap po, at sana nga po manaig dito ang kahinahunan at kapayapaan. Syukran, ika nga po. Salamat na marami, Doctor.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Dr. Henelito Sevilla. Mga kapatid, brothers and sisters, saan ka pa? Dito na tayo sa totoo. Dito na tayo sa True FM.
Mga kapatid, mag-subscribe and follow po kayo sa social media accounts ng True Network PH. Yan po kami, hanapin nyo lang True Network PH, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and podcast. Mapa Apple or Spotify man yan, mahahanap nyo kami. Lahat ng mga napapanood at napapakinggan nyo po sa programa, nasa social media accounts namin yan. So paano mga kapatid? See you sa social media!